I'm back. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing my belated championship predictions, and I want to get this disclaimer out of the way really quickly. I made these predictions before the season started, and while I could change them and adapt to the early start of the season, um, I don't want to. So I'm just going to go off what I already made earlier in the season, and even though some of them look increasingly more and more unlikely now, I'm going to stand by them in the hopes that everything evens out the way I planned. Cool. So I got my phone. I'm going to pull up my predictions on the Notes app, which is the best app. You got them right here. And we're just going to start on my little tier list. A little tier maker, if you will. So first up, we have Millwall Football Club, and I have put Millwall in 9th place. I think Millwall are a good team. They've got some decent players. I think they should be pushing for the playoffs, and realistically, in the next 2 to 3, maybe 4 to 5 years, aiming to reach the Prem at some point. I know no one likes them, and they don't care, but I would like to see them do good in the upcoming season. But I think it'll be a bit of a mid-table, almost a playoff push, but they're all right. Watford I have in 6th place. Yes, I know now they look like they're losing their entire front line and like everybody else, and they've had a bit of a start. But again, I made these before the season started, so I just want to talk about it from the perspective of that. I think they have a decent squad, and I think they will just make playoffs. But, I mean, Elton John FC isn't anything special, in my opinion. I think they eventually, in the next maybe 10 to 15 years, will just consolidate as a mid-table, not 10 to 15, like a 5 to 6 years will consolidate as a mid-table championship club. I think it's good that they've got rid of Ben Foster. I love his content, don't get me wrong, but although I don't claim him as a Tottenham fan because he wears Arsenal shirts and he says he's a Tottenham fan, I don't like that. But I think it's good that he left because it was a bit of a toxic atmosphere there with him doing all that. I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. They still have a good squad and will make playoffs. I don't think they'll win it, though. I'll tell you guys who I think is going to win it at the end after I put everything in. Next up, we have Norwich, and I have put Norwich in 3rd place. Okay, so I don't think they're going to get automatically promoted. Not because I just want the monotony of the championship to change, but I think they're going to struggle. I don't think Dean Smith is a great coach. Obviously, now we've seen in the first few games he hasn't done great, but I made these before the season started. As you will see with some later predictions, they are very clearly made before the season started. But I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit. I'm just gonna go for something different. Hull, I put in 14th, and again, I know they look a lot better now. I think they might even push for playoffs, but I made these before the season started, and I didn't want to change them and be unfair. I wanted to put myself out there for what I actually believed prior to the season starting and be honest about how I felt, even if I can now say that it's probably wrong. I wanted to be honest about what I said. We can look back on the end of the season. I'll do all my reactions. And I thought prior to the season, Hull made some smart signings, and I think big Turkish contingent is coming into the club. And instead of the mid-table I was expecting, they might be up there. There might be some teams getting mauled by the Tigers. Next up, we have Blackpool, who I put in 16th. I think they'll stay up. They have a decent squad. I don't have much to say about Blackpool. It's a nice place. I'd love to go there and go to a game there. They have good away support. Not the best in the league like a lot of people claim, but they have good away support. And I think they're going to do all right. They'll survive. Side note, Jake Daniels, I know you've probably already got a lot of support, but huge congrats for coming out as gay and being he's like 20 years old or something. It's massive. Next up, we have Bristol City, who I put in 19th. I don't have much to say about the Robins. They're just going to stay where they are. This next one is... I'm not very proud of this one. I put Blackburn Rovers in 18th. I made this before the season started, okay? I made this before the season started, and I'm... I made these before the season started. That's all I'm going to say about Blackburn. Now, I made these before the season started. I was supposed to get these out earlier, and so I could give more in-depth analysis on everything. But now I'm kind of just getting these out so I can have something to react to at the end of the season. Yeah. Luton I put down in 17th. I think they're going to have a drop-off from the highs of the last few seasons, similar to Barnsley a few seasons ago, or last season, I guess, but not relegated, just a hefty fall off. I think they'll survive, though. Kenilworth Road will see more championship football. Cardiff I put down in 20th, so just barely avoiding relegation. I think they should have aspirations to be higher than this, but I just don't see the Bluebirds pushing up too much, and I think they're just going to kind of stay where they are. Next up, we've got Rotherham United, the Millers, I believe. I put them in last. And now I've seen they had a great performance against Reading, but then Reading went on and beat Blackburn 3-0. So I don't even know what's happening with the league. So I put them last. I think they're going to keep yo-yoing. I think the New York Stadium is going to not be graced with the most elegant of football. And I think they're going to go down last. Next up, I have QPR, who I have in 7th, just missing out on the playoffs. I think the Hoops are a well-run club. I've been to their stadium before in England, the Keon Prince Foundation. I know that's not what you guys like it to be called, and I think they're just going to push for the playoffs and just miss out. But I don't know now because I made it before the season started, and they're not looking as great anymore. West Brom I had 2nd, which I believe can still happen. I think West Brom will come up, and I think I want to see them stay up because I remember they used to be an established Prem side, but I just don't see it happening anymore. Even when if they do get promoted, I think they'll get relegated in the next season. As much as I want to see something new happen, I can't say it. And this is another one that's almost as bad as Blackburn. I put Birmingham City in 22nd, just going down. They look like they're going to have a great season now. But before the season started, I think a lot of people had them to go down, and that's what I had said. Next up, I got Preston, who are just the epitome, and they're in 11th, by the way, 11th. Epitome of a mid-table championship side. I don't see anything good or bad happening for them that soon. I'd like to, but I don't see it. Okay, and then I put Borough first. I put Middlesbrough first. I bought into the Chris Wilder hype a lot. And maybe I shouldn't have now that I've seen the first few games of the season. But I still think they can push for playoffs for sure. But before the season started, I thought they'd get first. And I thought Sunderland would get 13th, which I still think is a pretty decent prediction. I think that can still happen. I think they're just going to reestablish themselves as a championship side. And maybe in a few years even push for the Prem again. I know a lot of people are having them even higher, pushing for the Prem or playoffs or maybe even getting promoted automatically. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Too early to say for that, but I think they'll be fine. Next up, we have Reading, who completes my relegation zone. Obviously, they just beat Blackburn the other day, 3-0, which was crazy. But they also lost to Rotherham, who I have last, 4-0. So I still think that 2 out of the 3 teams in my relegation zone could go down. Maybe all of them, but again, I made this before the season started. I want to be honest about what I put out. Stoke City, the Potters, I put in 15th. So I also think just ever since coming down in 2018 or 2017, they've just not done anything. They've just stagnated. I wouldn't want to go to the Bet365 Stadium, known that way for sponsorship reasons, at all, and do it at a wet, windy Tuesday night in Stoke or whatever. If I was a fan, it doesn't seem like something I would be happy to do. I understand some teams aren't as good as others, and you don't expect as much, but Stoke expect more, and their fans would want to be treated to more than they're getting. Next up, I have Sheffield United, who made the playoffs last year. I have them in 5th place. Yeah, I just think they're going to get 5th place. I don't think they're going to push any higher. And yeah, and I'll tell you who I think is going to win the playoffs in a bit. Coventry, I originally put in 12th, so now I see that this might have been a bit of wishful thinking. but at the time, I didn't know about the stadium closure and stuff, so they picked up a good point against Sunderland on opening day, but I didn't know about the Wasps or whatever they're called, the rugby team who plays at the Coventry Stadium. So I didn't know about the possible maybe even a point deduction now. They're not getting their game plays. They're gonna have a ton of fixture congestion. So I thought, prior to the season starting, 12th was a good shout. I don't know about anymore. Next up we have. Oh my God, this. It appears this tier list does not have Huddersfield, but I'm too lazy to do this all again, so I'm going to tell you. Huddersfield is 10th. Huddersfield, I think, is going to be 10th, which I still think can happen. They had a very poor start to the season this season. I think they're going to fall off, and they're going to finish 10th. There's no Huddersfield on this, which is really upsetting. I didn't even realize. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody else. I don't think I did. No. And then Burnley, I put in 4th, so that completes my playoff spot. All teams that have been in the Premier League in recent years, and I'll get to the playoffs in a second, but I want to finish it out. I put Swansea in 8th, and then Huddersfield should be in 10th, right after Millwall. I think Swansea are going to have a good season and push for the playoffs, but not quite make it, and ultimately it's just going to be another season. And Wigan, I think, are just going to avoid relegation in 21st place. That I still think is pretty apt. If you skip to the end, I made this before the season started. Blackburn is going to do way better, I know. Middlesbrough are not going to win the league. And Coventry, I didn't know about their stadium problems, and Birmingham are doing a lot better than I expected. So, before the season started, my playoff winner, I think, is going to be Burnley. Or that's what I said preseason. I don't know now, but I thought Burnley were going to win it because I think they've signed a lot of good players. Arguably, I think they have a better squad than they did in the Premier League last season. I do. And I think they're going to win the playoffs and get promoted back up. So West Brom, Middlesbrough, Burnley. That's what I said preseason. And Birmingham, Reading, Rotherham going down. I know it's not the best predictions because I made the preseason. And I wanted to be honest. And it's also funnier because if I go back and review them at the end of the season, it'll look funnier if I had a ton of bad predictions. So I guess that's good. Got my Coventry shirt, by the way. It's a goalkeeper kit. I am a goalkeeper. Like and subscribe, I guess. Bye. You can do that.